Now, in the past few Space Marine Intercessor reviews, you may be wondering, where the heck are the sergeants? Well, how dare Sprues and Studs miss the sergeants, the glue that holds the squads together? Well, here I am going to make up for that point. So in this video, we are going to be reviewing the chapter sergeants that we have missed. Specifically, we are going to be taking an in-depth look at the Raven Guard sergeant as well as the Salamanders sergeant. So let's not delay any further.
Yeah, unboxing is true ASMR. And the reveal is oh so sweet. Now in for a better look. Ah yes, finally we have the Raven Guard Sergeant ahead of us for us to review. Now the first thing that I'm going to comment on is that, again, JoyToy for some odd reason has gone away with highlighting as well as shading on their particular action figures. Now this one, unfortunately, is completely devoid of highlights. So the Black Templars Intercessor actually has a bunch of highlights. If you look at the old Death Company Intercessors, they also have a bunch of highlights here. So this one, unfortunately, looks quite flat in my opinion. But anyways, we will focus in on this guy's helmet first of all. And let's see if there's anything that we haven't seen before. And fortunately or unfortunately, this helmet is exactly what we expected. Decently painted lenses on the helmet, silver accents on the earpiece as well as respirator area. So no departure from that part. Pauldron-wise, there's really no difference whatsoever. Let's take a look at the left one. You have the iconic Raven Guard symbol right here. And then on the back of the pauldron, we get a little bit more decorations, a little bit more character. Obviously over here we have a skeletal raven head, and then there is a black feather on the side of it, which is interesting to see, but further makes this guy stand out from what we have seen before. And then as we are focusing in on the middle area, you have the skull with the wings, and there is actually plenty of shading where the recesses of the feathers are, so that's really nice to see. And then on the left-hand side, you have a gigantic heraldic shield that has the shape of a raven's head here. And then looking at the left forearm, you get to see an instrument panel. Moving on to the belt and accessory region, this is, again, things that we have seen before in the past with the other intercessors. You have two accessory pouches on the right side, an empty holster on the left, as well as the three very prominent accessory pouches on the back. The biggest difference that you find from this guy compared to the rest of his squad mates is that, again, you've got a gigantic raven skull here. And then finally, you have the raven's feathers that are dangling down. That seems to have a little bit of a sparkly essence to it, which I'm not exactly too sure if it's supposed to be there or not. Aside from that, if we are looking at the lower half of this action figure, there really isn't too much to see. It is pretty much almost devoid of decorations, save this kneecap marking, and then if you flip it around the other side, there are some silver studs at the bottom of the legs here, but otherwise it is a neutral and flat black. Let's quickly run through the armaments as we've seen them all before on other action figure reviews. You have your ubiquitous Assault Intercessor chainsword with the gunmetal teeth, black casing, red handle, and golden skull. Moving on to the auto bolt rifle variant, which is apparently the most common variant that JoyToy decides to make. Once again, repeats of what we have seen before. Nice, soft, flexible plastic strap that allows you to put this around the sergeant's shoulders. Your gigantic auto bolt magazine at the bottom. Some silver accents all throughout and black casing. The bolt pistol follows the mold of most of the rest of the bolt pistols that we have seen. Black casing, gunmetal accents. And next we have the ubiquitous holstered bolt pistol with the purity seal. Nothing too much to see here. Once again, very flat looking backpack. And probably the most important thing about this whole entire action figure and why it was sold out on some websites is because of the beaky helmet. Now, this beaky helmet is super old school and is a defining thing for a lot of older Warhammer 40K figure collectors such as me. Everybody loves a good beaky, and that's why I got it myself. So looking at the helmet area, it is a white and it has been shaded quite extensively in the recesses here. You get a nice silver skull with a shaded black eye socket, and finally pretty decently painted lens area. So I think that JoyToy did a very good job of replicating this very, very iconic piece of helmetry, if that's even a word. So now that we have this particular Sergeant reviewed, let's move on to the Salamander Sergeant. Sergeant number 2. And the reveal of the Salamander Sergeant. Ta-da! Okay, we have the Salamander Sergeant in front of us, and there's nothing to do except dive in. So with this helmet area, what I'm noticing first and foremost, there is a very prominent gold skull. The Sergeant has your characteristic Salamander's yellow lens, and then with the respirator tubes, it appears that there are 2 different tubes on each side, whereas most of them that you see have a single one. And looking at the pauldrons, it looks like it's very nicely screened, very well centered, no issues here. And you flip around the other side, you have your characteristic Salamander's Fire Drake chapter symbol that also is very well screened. In the middle, you have your characteristic skull with wings, also shaded eyes, and also shaded where the recesses of the feathers are, which is nice to see. Speaking of shading, I suppose the only shading that we get to see is in the recesses of these areas here. This one, this one, this one, as well as here. On the left-hand side has an empty holster, and then on the back you have 1 accessory pouch on the left-hand side, and then 2 accessory pouches on the right-hand side. And then flipping around, the rest of the action figure is completely devoid of markings and any sort of shading or highlights on the bottom. So we'll put the main body of the Sergeant down and then focus in on some really interesting parts of it. The first thing that we're going to focus on is this lovely hand flamer over here. And the biggest thing that I'm noticing about this hand flamer is I love this part right here. Why do I love it? It has that burn-in kind of look that you saw on the Raider pattern combat bike. So if you got like a burnt end over here, and then it gradually migrates to a lighter gold. So it's really nice to see here. Anyways, so we'll put that hand flamer down and look at this lovely Thunder Hammer. I love Thunder Hammers. They are my most favorite close combat weapons. And of course, no Salamander would be complete without a Thunder Hammer. It is a super dark gunmetal color, and you can see lovely shading on the recesses of it. And then there are some nice light silver highlights that you can see that make this thing pop out. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get this action figure, just because of this guy's Thunder Hammer. The backpack is, once again, things that we have seen before. And the final thing that we're going to look at is the Sergeant's head. And the Sergeant's head looks exactly the same as the other bare-headed Salamander that we reviewed about a few weeks ago. So you get to see these nice gashes here that almost look like the surface of a volcano. And then you get the characteristic metallic red glowing devil eyes. And then what I like about this guy is the respirator tubings actually matches the 2 tubings that you see down here. So that's another really nice touch that JoyToy has put in. And finally, we have the 2 sergeants of their respective chapters reviewed. Let's conclude this bad boy.
And now we have the sergeants of the Raven Guard as well as the Salamanders chapter completely reviewed. So let me know what you thought about them in the comments section below. So I will actually let you know exactly what I think about these 2 action figures that I missed out on. So what do I think about the Raven Guard one? Well, I'll be honest with you, I really like the beaky part of it, and I think that's the main reason why a lot of people ordered this guy, mainly because of the very prominent beaky helmet. And other things that I do like about it is just the Raven Guard accoutrements on this thing, specifically the Raven skull and the feathers that are attached to the skull. Really makes this action figure stand out from the rest of his brethren, I suppose. And then with regards to the Salamanders one, who doesn't like a good thick Thunderhammer? Thunderhammers are my favorite close hand-to-hand combat weapons ever produced by Games Workshop, so I knew that I had to get this Hammer of the Forge. And the second thing that I really like, obviously, is this bear head, considering that the Salamander's heads are probably the most unique out of all of the intercessors that have come out from the various different chapters, especially with the dark skin, as well as the beady, glowing, devilish eyes. So in terms of should you get these action figures or not, yeah, you should. I mean, you need to complete your squad of intercessors with their leader, which is the sergeant. So this is Spruce and Studs. Thanks again so much for tuning into my videos every single week. I appreciate your support in the comments that you leave in the comments section. I love engaging all of you in an active dialogue about these action figures that we love and cherish so much. And if you like the content that you're seeing, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, as it helps out the channel very, very much, and I thank you so much in advance. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.